Hey guys, welcome back to my channel for another video. If you're new here, my name is Natalie, and today I'm going to be sharing with y'all how I took a $49 ebook and turned it into a six-figure coaching business in a year. Now, my hope is that as I share this with you guys, it won't take you a year to implement. This took me a year to do because y'all, I struggled to figure out what method worked best for me. And so starting in 2019, I was online here on YouTube and coaching, helping women to create online clothing boutiques. And I did that up until about 2022. And so now I'm here teaching those with a proven skill set how to come online, build an audience, and basically share your expertise, your messaging, your passions with those who need it, with those who want your help. I started selling my first ebook for about $49 January of 2019. And by November 2019, that same year, so less than a year, I was making at least five figures a month. So I had my first $10,000 month, November and December. And so January, I actually hit $13,000 January 2020. So I'm going to share with you guys what I did because that income did not just come from ebooks. It was a mixture of ebooks. I had live workshops that I flipped into digital courses. I did group coaching, one-on-one coaching. I even did a paid membership for only about 6 months, and I did that two different times. And so all these different things combined together at different times throughout the years is what brought me six-figure a year income. Save this video and come back to it because the first thing I want to teach y'all about is something called strategic offers. Having a strategic offer means that you're putting out only 1 to 2 things at a time. So I'm going to share like 5 or 6 different methods here, but don't go and put all 5 or 6 things out at one time because when you have too many things that you're offering, people buy nothing. And I've experienced that as well. So with strategic offers, you want to understand what is it that your audience is needing or wanting at the time. What is it that they're asking about? If you don't have an audience yet or people are not asking you anything, put out one thing first and see how they respond. And so as I tell you guys my different methods, understand and ask yourself which one of these resonates most with you. Which one do you want to try first? Now, in my previous video, I shared all about the $49 ebook. This was called the Boutique Business Guide, and it was very short and it taught people from A to Z how to start a clothing boutique. Cool. Now, I always have my ears to the street of my business, always listening and seeing what are people wanting next. And so I realized as I was selling that ebook, and I have an entire video on the whole process, I'll link it down below. I realized people are wanting to work with me. They want me to help them build their boutique. You know, I gave them the ebook, they have the ebook, but they want more. And so I created my very first thing, you guys, and this, I remember it like it was yesterday. I was still full-time teaching. I didn't have time for a lot of difficult, complicated things. And so I created a group coaching program called the School of Boutique Bosses. Okay. It was a 4-week program where every single week I met with about 7 people and I taught them the same thing that was in that ebook, but now I'm walking them through the steps together. They're getting more detailed assistance. And every single week I give them a homework assignment to go and implement. Come back, show me, and I'll give you feedback. This was my first ever program, so I didn't know how much to charge. I charged but somewhere between $500 and $700 per person for 4 weeks. And I usually had about 7 people at a time. So y'all can do the math. There was no pre-work needed for this. Very little pre-work. So if you're like, okay, I want to start coaching tomorrow, how can I start? This is how. I didn't have any fancy platforms or anything. We met on Zoom before Zoom was even popular. The pre-work needed for a course like this is you need to, number one, know what are you promising the end result is going to be. So my promise was by the end of this, within 30 days, you'll have a launched clothing boutique. Period. In 30 days, you will launch your clothing boutique. That's the promise. That's the first step. The second step in the pre-work phase is knowing what are the steps to get to the promise. So first, have a brand. Second, form the business. Build the online website. find your inventory, create an email list, and launch. And some of these things can go together. But once I know what the steps are, I then know two things. I know how long it's going to take. So I can say this is going to be a 4-week program or a 8-week program, etc. But then I also have a way to market. When I'm making my product description and when I'm talking about the course on my videos like this, I can tell them, hey, listen, if you want to know how to build a boutique and if you want to know how to accomplish these steps, I'm gonna teach it in this class. So if you want to learn how, come to this class. And so when you know the promise and you know the steps, you can then inform and get students. And so the only technical thing I needed to do was create an application. So all of my applications for all my programs, all my classes, for everything from the beginning till now has been hosted on Google Forms. Just asking different questions, because just how they're trying to see if you're gonna be a good program for them, you want to see, are they going to be a good person to mix in with the group? And so now this application where they can work with me, that is going to be what I put under all my videos. And so when it came to marketing, content is king. So I created relevant content and then I had the link to the application. Now, of course, there's more marketing that sometimes went behind the scenes. Like I did have an email list. I did send emails to that list. Sometimes I have a lead magnet or like a free ebook to get people on the email list to market to them as well. So I did do more in-depth things when needed, but for a lot of the times, just to get the first initial people, my videos like this and the application under the videos got me those signups. If you want to know more about how to build your online course, then make sure you check out the links down below, because I have an entire program about how to create your ebook and online course, how to build an audience, and how to sell it. Now, that's just one thing, okay? That's not 6 figures of income. That's one thing. I will say I did that course for about 4 weeks. I would take a week or two off, and then I started to do the course again. So I was doing that course repeatedly on top of me also teaching full-time 7th grade math. However, that's still not 6 figures of income. And so the next thing, like I said, always thinking about strategic offers. By me always listening for feedback, 2 different things started to happen. Okay, one, I had beginners who were saying, Natalie, I love your content. I'm loving the results that your students are getting. This program looks interesting, but I can't afford it. What can I do? And don't ignore those people. That's one group of people right here. And I'm gonna leave them right here because we'll come back to them, because what I did for them ended up making me around $50,000 in my business. But then you have some people who are like, okay, I see you talking to the beginners and I'm learning, I've launched my boutique, and now what? And so some people were watching my videos and they were finding out the steps on their own, but they wanted to learn more. And so they wanted to get more in-depth things like, okay, what about email marketing? And what about social media marketing? And what about creating a custom clothing line like you did for Fearless? And so with these people, this is when I started to make strategic ebooks on various topics that they were requesting. And I wouldn't do this all at one time. Over the course of, let's say, the next 8 months or so, every few months I would put out a new ebook. So I had the email marketing guide, and then I had the Instagram selling guide. Well, with these ebooks, I'm getting better with my marketing. I'm getting better with digital marketing. And so I started to make at least $1,000 a day. Something I told myself is, I know an ebook is going to be good and successful when on the first day I make at least $1,000 from it. So I created what I call my 1K day sales strategy. And if you guys want to know more about that strategy, then check out the links down below, because I have a 1K day playbook where I teach the strategy and how I did all of this as well. But that's going to be another source of income right there, is putting out ebooks as I'm hearing strategically what my audience is needing or wanting to learn next. And so far in my business, all happening at different times and sometimes happening at the same time, I have the School of Boutique Bosses, my 4-week program, and now I have these ebooks on specific topics coming out every couple months when I see that there's a need for that. Now, remember over here, we have those beginners and they're not ready for email marketing. They're not ready for Instagram marketing. They want the beginning, but they don't want to pay that price. And so another thing I did, you guys, which was like one of the best things I've done to date, was a 2-day live weekend workshop. So I'm still full-time teaching. I only have the weekend to do something like this. So over one weekend, I told them, okay, in these 2 days, I'll teach you everything you want to know about creating an online boutique. I mean, 2 days long, you guys. I think we spent about 3 to 4 hours on both days where I taught them everything. So I taught them the same thing that I'm teaching my group class. However, I'm doing it in a shorter amount of time, and I'm not going to be able to walk you through the steps and help you implement them. However, I can teach you everything. So I only charged them $100, y'all, for that live workshop. And I had exactly 50 people sign up and come. Now, to host the workshop, I also hosted it on Zoom, but this time I did Zoom webinar. So with Zoom webinar, it's just like this. You can see me. They can't see each other. You can't see who's in there. And I'll tell you guys how I was able to sell it. But let me just tell you, after I finished that workshop, y'all, I flipped it. Now I have the recording. So then I put the recording up on my website, and then I started to charge. I sold that on my website for about $249. I think it's still up on my website right now, called the Boutique Intensive. And over the past few years, the replay of that workshop has made me over $50,000 in my business. That's just one product, one income stream. And so all these things together, you guys, is what's helping me to get this 6-figure income or this 5-figure a month income. Now, when it comes to doing a live workshop, you guys may have questions on, okay, well, logistically, how do I do this? How do I sell this? Like, what does that look like? So I'll explain this real quick before we get into the next thing I did. The one thing I do is I create a one-pager on Canva. So on this one-pager, I have all the details. I have the link to the Zoom webinar, and I have the link to the workbook. And so basically this one pager, I download it as a PDF, and then I add this to my website. Either you have a landing page or you have a full website, whichever you decide to go with. I then go on that website and create a digital product. And I go in and I put the product in, Boutique Intensive, $99. And then I put the product description. They're going to learn how to open a boutique in 30 days. I'm going to teach them these steps. It's going to be on this day, this time. Going to be a replay available for those who purchase. Because I gave them the replay for free. Some people can charge for that too, but I just gave it to them for free, y'all. And then you put that PDF one pager with all the details from Canva as the actual digital product on the site. So when your customer goes to your site, ding, 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 they see, oh, Boutique Intensive. Okay, $99. Cool. When they purchase, they'll get the PDF download of that one pager. So they'll get that one pager and they'll get all the information. They'll see all the links to the day of, the time, and the workbook. So it's really, really easy to set it up from there. And so hopefully that's helpful. 2-day workshop, so much fun. It's a great thing to start with. If you have a proven skill set and you don't really feel like coaching yet, or you don't really feel comfortable coaching yet, doing a 2-day live or a 1-day live or whatever, doing a live workshop, teaching in-depth details, give them a workbook, flip it around and sell the replay forever. Like, you're good to go. Now, let's take it back to the group coaching aspect. So the School of Boutique Bosses, let me give y'all a different method for group coaching, period. So I started to see a new need from my audience. They didn't just want the steps, they wanted strategy as well. So before in my group coaching program, I would just say, step 1, this is how you do it. And I would spend our group coaching time teaching the steps. So there wasn't a lot of time for question and answer. Or some days we would do Q&A and we would be there for like 5-6 hours. For me, on a school night, like, it's too much. And people have real lives, real jobs, real families, etc. And so they wanted strategy and we needed more time together. So this is when I started to implement my like pre-recorded coaching program structure, where I used a teaching platform, and there's so many different teaching platforms. I personally have used Teachable the most. And so you have something like Teachable where you're able to upload content. So I would record a video like this ahead of time, teaching the very basics of whatever that step is, whatever that week is about. Again, this doesn't require much pre-work, because sometimes I say, like, don't start making this content until you have students. When you have the first person to sign up, that's when I'll start making the content. The way my group coaching pre-recorded course was structured was every Sunday they would get a new lesson just like this. So I would record a video like this to Teachable, and every Sunday they would have access to that along with the homework assignment for the week. And then every Thursday is when we met face to face via Zoom for what I called strategy sessions. So every Sunday they would get the lesson and they would get the homework assignment. And I would tell them, hey, if you have questions or if you want to submit your homework assignment for feedback, whether you implemented something, you want me to give you feedback on it, submit it here to this place by Wednesday night. That gives me 24 hours to review it. So the homework is due Wednesday, and by Thursday we're in person and we're teaching together. And this time is reserved for Q&A and feedback only. And so it became a lot less stressful for me because I didn't have to focus on teaching so heavily. When they're there, we can use that time for something more useful. And so this, again, the only pre-work now is that if they're getting a video Sunday, honestly, y'all, Saturday, I was sitting down just like this. Today is Saturday for me. I'll record this video. I would upload it into Teachable. I would upload any like workbook pages for the week. Because for my program, I also had a workbook, but instead of having to make the whole workbook in the beginning, every week when I outlined what I was going to teach, that became the workbook pages, and I would make it in Canva. It would look nice, it would look cute. I ended up turning my School of Boutique Bosses into this type of format. You do the heavy lifting the first time, and then from there you can offer that pre-recorded content for the next group. When I did it like this, I did increase the price a bit. I have more to offer. And so because of that, the price of this course went from about $700 up to about like $997. Now, as I'm teaching the School of Boutique Bosses and I'm doing these workshops here, I'm also publishing my first physical book. My YouTube channel is blowing up. Fearless, my custom clothing line, is doing numbers. And so people started to come to me and they were like, hey, listen, like, I don't want to just sell clothing. I want to sell books too. I want to sell jewelry too. I want to sell shoes too. And so this is when I stopped officially. I remember the last time I said, okay, I'm not teaching the School of Boutique Bosses anymore. And that's when I structured to the Brand Construction Accelerator. This is when I started to put on the hat of a brand strategist. I realized when you have a solid brand, you can have multiple streams of income and sell a bunch of things. And I want to teach people like how to build a solid brand first, because a solid brand informs your marketing. And so when I really stepped into the brand strategist role, that's when I started to offer the Brand Construction Accelerator. This was still group coaching, but I upgraded it to about a 6-week long. It actually was an 8-week long program. The focus was on building a successful brand, and I brought in my lawyer and my accountant. And so for 2 of those 8 weeks, my lawyer came and taught one class, and then one of those weeks, my accountant came and taught that class as well. And so this is like a well-rounded program that I ran back to back to back. And because I added so much more to it, more strategy, more branding, more professionals, then the price went up to around $1,500. The pre-work for you, if you want to do this method of teaching, then the pre-work, it all stays the same in the sense that your job is to do an application, have a landing page to talk about your program and the promise and the steps that you're going to be teaching in that program, and then have that application in that landing page and put that under all your content. Put that wherever you can, in your bio, your description box, etc. Once the first student signs up, that's when you start to create your content like this and start thinking about workbook pages and assignments and things of that sort. And from there, every week, you're just doing a little bit of work. So every week you upload your content and the students see it, you have a Q&A session, and you repeat that process. So the last thing that we'll talk about before I kind of give y'all some like last steps to take for yourself is one-on-one coaching. And so what ended up happening was, as I'm doing all these courses and classes, people are watching my content and they're like, okay, all of this is cool, but I want to know how you did your YouTube channel, or I want to know how you do your coaching programs, or I want to know how you build your clientele up. And so behind the scenes, as I was doing all of these group courses and things like that, people will be like, hey, I want you to work with me one-on-one and help me build this thing out. And so my one-on-one coaching has ranged anywhere from $297 for a 60-minute session up to $3,000 per month for a contract of at least 3 months minimum. And when it gets to that tier of like $3,000, this is when I'm somebody's full-on consultant. Like, I have built people's businesses from idea to launch, in the sense of came up with their name, built their website, built their content, created the content for them, built their email list, got them physical customers to go and purchase from them. So I have done all these things. The things that corporations, when I work with them, they pay me like $18,000 a month to do. So I do those things with people as well, from all different industries. Or sometimes I do coaching where I'm just sitting down with somebody and I'm teaching them the steps and I'm giving them the strategy and I'm giving them feedback, but then they're the ones implementing. And so that won't be that top tier price. And so I do a lot of different coaching at a lot of different levels for a lot of different people. But I would say the one thing I would say if you're thinking about starting a coaching program is understand the promise, like what is the end result. And so for my clients now, I'm helping them to build an online brand, establish themselves in their industry, build an online audience, create content to draw in people to their site and to their products and services. Really, the premise behind everything is brand strategy and business development as well, and entrepreneurship and all those great things. And so understand the promise. What can you tell them they will get as a result of working with you? What are the steps? And then deliver on what you promise. And so this was like a lot of different things. If I can leave y'all with anything on what you should do to get started, first of all, remember strategic offers, okay? Don't go and put out all these things that I told y'all about today. This is a combination of 5+ years of doing this. And each time when I realized that there was a need for my audience, I added on something else. And sometimes I took away things when I realized this no longer is serving the people who I serve. Out of all the things that I mentioned today, what method resonates most with you? Maybe just an ebook is where you want to start right now. Maybe the original School of Boutique Bosses, where you just say, hey, forget all the tech stuff. Let me get 5 people. Let me show up on Zoom and let me teach them each week a different topic. Maybe you want to pre-record some stuff and have Q&A sessions. Choose like 1 or 2 to start with, and you can always build on top of that. Number 2, because we have to start putting yourself out there to get clients, to get sales. Number 2 is to create content around the topics that you're passionate about. And I think it's really important that we test our ideas. I can talk about a million things, y'all. I could talk about YouTube growth, ebook growth, online courses, boutique. I could talk about so many things I can't even keep up, email marketing, etc. And so where do I start? Well, for me, I cast a wide net and I put out topics on different areas. And then I sit back and say, well, hey, now which one got the most attention? Which one is most relevant right now? Which one do people care about the most? And that's the one that I then turn around and put a course out on. So I did that in January. I put out a video on ebooks, YouTube, and branding. And when I sat back and watched, the ebook one has just hit over 200,000 views. So I said, okay, cool. Let me put out my ebook course, a course that I already had from years ago. I just released it again. This is from 2020. I just put it out again. And so test your idea to see, out of the different topics that you can talk about, when you put the content out there, which one are people biting on? Which one are they like really drawn to? And then from there, you can put out content on that topic and put out a course, put out an ebook, put out something for sale, a workshop. I love workshops, y'all. A workshop on that topic, and share your expertise with people. Number 3, as you're putting out that content, ask them what questions they have. So what are they curious about? What do they want to learn next? And I always say, turn a question into a video if it's not too in-depth, or turn a question into a class, turn a question into a workshop, okay? They got the questions and you got the answers, and you can get paid for it. Number 4, with that in mind, determine the promise, the steps, and then create that thing. Lastly, market and deliver on what you promised, okay? My hope is that this fuels your fire, gives you some ideas on how you can turn your passion, your message, your expertise into another source of income this year. If you have questions about any of the things I mentioned, then put your questions down in the comments. If you enjoyed this, or if you're somebody who you've already put out a resource, you have an ebook, you have a course, and nobody's buying it, hit the subscribe button down below, because in my next video, I'm going to talk about why your resource, your ebook, and your course, why it's not selling and how you can get it to sell. So make sure you guys hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out on that video. And if you're somebody who you're like, okay, this is cool, but I don't have an ebook to sell, I don't have a course to sell, I'm ready to create something, I'm ready to build my audience, and I'm ready to make $1,000 a day from doing it, then check out the 1K Day Playbook down below. There should be a discount code down there too. So I enjoyed making this video for you guys. I will see you guys in my next one.